The ship floated through the black sea of stars, silent and cold. Captain Elias Ward slowly opened his eyes as the cryo-sleep pod released a puff of white mist. The blue emergency lights blinked in the corners of the room, and the air smelled of metal and dust. For a moment, Elias did not remember where he was. His heart beat slowly, his body stiff after years of sleep. When his memory returned, he whispered to himself, "This is the Solace. Mission Deep Space Survey, crew of 7. But as his eyes adjusted to the light, he noticed something strange. The other cryopods were empty. Each one stood open, cold smoke still rising from them. The names on their panels blinked in red, signal lost. Vital signs none. Elias frowned and pulled himself out of his pod. His boots touched the floor with a dull echo. "Where is everyone?" he said softly, though no one was there to answer. He tapped the ship's console. The screen flickered and filled with static. The computer's voice spoke, weak and broken. "Warning. Navigation system corrupted. Long-range communication offline. Crew status unknown." Elias' stomach tightened. The stars outside the viewport shimmered in a way he had never seen before. They were not steady points of light. They moved very slowly, as if drifting through waves of invisible water. He sat down at the control panel and checked the logs. The date made no sense. It showed that the Solace had been in drift for 11 years, 2 years longer than planned. Somewhere, somehow, they had gone off course. Elias turned to the nearest wall and saw something that froze him. Thin, glowing lines were carved into the metal. They looked like geometric shapes. Circles, triangles, and lines forming a strange pattern that pulsed with soft white light. It was not part of the ship's design. He ran his hand across the carvings. The surface was smooth and warm, as if the metal itself was alive. He whispered, "Who did this?" There was no answer, only the hum of the ship's weak reactor. Hours passed as Elias searched every deck. The mess hall was empty. The control bridge was cold and silent. The engineering room showed signs of repair work, but no logs explained who had done it. In the medical bay, he found a single cup of water on the counter, still half full as if someone had left it just moments ago. The loneliness pressed on his chest like weight. He spoke into his voice recorder just to hear a human sound. "Captain's log, day 1. Crew missing. Systems failing. Stars outside are behaving strangely. They change color slowly, as if breathing. Maybe it's a trick of the ship's sensors." He stopped recording and stared out the window again. The stars were no longer where they should be. The constellations were wrong. He compared them with the ship's star charts, but none of the patterns matched any known region. "This can't be right," he murmured. "We're too far. Way too far." Then something moved outside, just a flicker at first. A ripple passed across the stars like a curtain of energy. Elias leaned closer. For a second he thought he saw shapes, huge, dim outlines floating in the darkness. But when he blinked, they were gone. He shivered and rubbed his arms. "It's just the sensors." Must be interference, he told himself. But deep inside, he did not believe it. Later, in the command room, Elias tried to restart the navigation computer. The system responded weakly and projected a 3D map of nearby space. The map was blank except for one flickering marker, a single coordinate glowing faintly in the void. It was not human code. The label beside it showed an alien symbol, one that looked like an eye. Elias frowned. "What is this place?" The computer beeped. "Coordinate source unknown. Transmission pattern detected. Decoding signal." The signal repeated in a slow rhythm, 3 beats, a pause, then one longer tone. It was not random, it was structured, almost musical. He leaned back and thought, someone or something is trying to send a message. He looked outside again. The stars shimmered brighter now, arranging themselves into faint lines. For a moment they seemed to form a pattern, an eye just like the one on the display. Then the pattern faded and the stars returned to normal. His breath caught. "No," he said. "Stars can't move like that." He checked the readings again, but the data was stable. To the computer, nothing unusual had happened. That night, or what passed for night in the endless dark, Elias sat near the viewport with a cup of cold coffee. He stared at the strange stars. Their colors shifted from blue to gold, from gold to white. They pulsed gently like a heartbeat. He thought of Earth, its green forests, its oceans, its noise and warmth. Out here, everything was still. The silence pressed so deep that even his own heartbeat sounded like thunder. He turned on his recorder again. Captain's log, day 3. The stars look different now. It's hard to explain, they almost seem alive. Maybe I'm imagining it. Maybe I've been alone too long. But sometimes I feel like they're watching me. He stopped the recording, but the thought lingered. The next day, he explored the lower decks, searching for any clue about his missing crew. Near the cargo bay, he found a strange device connected to the main power line. It looked like a beacon, but it wasn't human-made. The metal was dark gray, and small lights ran along its surface in a steady rhythm. As he approached, the lights brightened, reacting to his presence. "Who put this here?" he whispered. Suddenly, the device emitted a low tone, soft and almost musical. The walls around him vibrated. For a few seconds, the air shimmered with faint images, shapes of faces blurred and distant. He stepped back in shock. The images vanished as quickly as they came. He recorded again. "Found an unknown beacon attached to the ship. It reacts to me. It plays sounds, and I think it projects something, maybe memories, not sure. It feels old, like it doesn't belong to this time." Elias decided to disconnect it, but before he could touch the controls, the ship's lights flickered. The voice of the onboard computer came through, calm but distorted. "Captain Ward, do not remove the beacon," he froze. "Who told you that command?" "Beacon linked to navigational memory. Removing it may erase the path." "The path to what?" Elias asked. The computer went silent. Hours later, he sat in his cabin staring at the glowing lines on the wall. He realized they matched the same shapes from the beacon. They were coordinates, star maps, but not static ones. The patterns changed every few hours, as if guiding him somewhere. He began copying them into his notebook, drawing each shift carefully. The more he studied them, the more he noticed a strange logic. Each pattern pointed to a new coordinate, forming a trail across unknown space. Elias felt something awaken inside him, a mix of fear and curiosity. He had always dreamed of discovery, of going beyond what humanity had mapped. Now it felt as if the universe itself was leading him somewhere. He looked out at the stars again. The faint glow of distant suns painted his face with silver light. They seemed closer than before, almost watching him with silent patience. He spoke softly. "If you're trying to tell me something, I'm listening." A gentle vibration ran through the ship as if in answer. For the first time since waking, Elias did not feel completely alone. The fear was still there, but beneath it a spark of wonder grew. Maybe the stars were not silent after all. Maybe they had been waiting for him. He wrote one last line in his log before turning in. "The stars looked different tonight, and yet they seemed to be watching me. I don't know what that means, but I think I'm meant to follow." Outside the window, one star blinked twice as if agreeing with him. Then quietly it faded into the dark. The stars outside the solace were no longer the same. They shifted like a living map, pointing toward something beyond known space. Captain Elias Ward watched as one bright cluster blinked 3 times, matching the rhythm of the beacon's soft pulse. It was not random. It was a message. He sat at the ship's control station, tired eyes fixed on the screen. "Computer," he said quietly, "set a course for the coordinates from last transmission." The ship's system hesitated, lights flickering weakly. "Coordinates unknown," the voice replied. "Warning, destination not in human database." "I know," Elias said. "Just trust me." "Plot the path," the engines began to hum. A deep vibration rolled through the ship as thrusters came online after so many years of silence. Outside, the stars seemed to twist around the vessel, creating a spiral of faint light. For a moment, Elias hesitated. He could still turn back. He could drift, wait for rescue, though after 11 lost years, rescue was unlikely. But curiosity had already taken hold of him. He had spent his life searching for meaning beyond Earth's skies, and now the universe itself was calling. "Let's go," he whispered. "Let's see where this road ends." The ship moved forward. The journey was rough. Strange energy fields surrounded the ship, making the instruments flash wildly. Sometimes the stars outside looked like they were melting, bending into waves of color. Once the hull vibrated so hard that Elias thought it might tear apart. He gritted his teeth and held on. "Hold together, old friend," he said, patting the console. "We've come too far to quit now." Hours passed, or maybe days. Time lost its meaning in the shifting light. Then suddenly the distortion cleared. The ship broke through the storm and entered calm space. Before him floated a dying sun, small, orange, and cold. Around it spun something impossible. A massive metallic ring several times larger than any planet. It shimmered faintly, covered with lights that looked like sleeping eyes. Elias stared in disbelief. This can't be real. He scanned the object. The data showed impossible readings. Gravity fields bending inward, power levels stable despite the age of the structure. The ship's voice spoke again, softer this time. Object detected, artificial material unknown. Energy signature matches beacon source. Elias leaned closer to the window. The ring's surface was marked with the same glowing symbols he had seen on the Solace's walls, lines that formed moving star patterns. He felt a chill. It's connected. Whatever called me here built this. He decided to land. It was a dangerous choice, but he had no other path. The ship's thrusters adjusted, and the Solace descended toward one of the ring's docking platforms. The structure accepted him silently, like it had been expecting him. When the landing completed, the bay doors closed around the ship with a deep, metallic sound. Soft white lights flickered on across the walls, guiding him toward a single corridor. Elias put on his suit and helmet, took a deep breath, and opened the hatch. The air that greeted him was thin but breathable. The corridor stretched far into the distance, smooth and silent. The walls glowed faintly with lines of light, the same warm patterns he had seen before. As he walked, the lights followed him, turning on one by one. Like footsteps made of stars, he whispered, "Who built you?" No answer came, but somewhere deep inside the structure, he could hear a hum, a low tone, deep and slow, like the heartbeat of something very old. After walking for several minutes, Elias reached a large circular chamber. In its center stood a tall column made of dark glass, and inside it flowed what looked like liquid light. The moment he stepped closer, symbols appeared around the column, floating, glowing softly in the air. Then the symbols began to change shape. Slowly they turned into English letters. "Welcome, child of Earth." Elias froze. "You can understand me?" he said aloud. The letters shifted again. "We remember you." His heart raced. "Remember me? What are you talking about? Who are you?" The column's light brightened, and a calm, neutral voice filled the room. "We are the echoes of those who watch the young rise from darkness. We waited for one who still listens." Elias swallowed. "You mean humans? You've been watching us?" "Watching all," the voice replied. "But you came alone. Why?" He didn't know what to say. "Because my crew is gone. My ship drifted here by accident. I'm the only one left." The light dimmed slightly, as if in sympathy. "The path was not an accident. You were chosen. You heard the call." Elias took a step back. "Chosen for what?" "To awaken what has slept too long." Before he could ask more, the floor trembled. A distant rumble echoed through the chamber, deep and ancient. The air filled with soft whispers, like voices speaking through static. He turned around, searching for their source, but saw nothing. "Who's there?" he called out. The whispers grew louder, clearer. They said his name, Elias, again and again, as if the stars themselves were speaking it. His skin prickled. "How do you know my name?" The voice in the column replied, "Because the stars remember every name that listens to them." Elias stood in silence, staring at the flowing light inside the column. He felt small, fragile, and yet somehow important. Later he walked deeper into the structure. The corridors opened into vast halls filled with strange machines and broken statues. Some of them looked like alien figures, tall, slender beings with long arms and calm faces. Others were too strange to describe, their forms half living, half mechanical. On the walls he saw murals that seemed to move slowly, showing images of galaxies being shaped and stars being born. In one image he saw something that made him stop. It showed Earth, a blue world surrounded by golden light. Above it stood the same tall figures watching over it like silent guardians. Elias whispered, "They knew about us before we ever left our planet." The more he explored, the clearer the story became. Whoever built this place had been watching many worlds, helping new species grow. They called themselves the Watchers. But the last images on the wall showed destruction, burning suns and empty skies. Something had hunted the Watchers down. He looked around the silent hall. "What happened to you?" he asked softly. "Why did you vanish?" A faint sound answered him, like distant footsteps. Elias turned quickly, shining his light down the hall. Nothing was there. Still, the feeling of being watched grew stronger. "Hello?" he said. "If you can hear me, I mean no harm." A gentle wind passed through the corridor, though there was no air vent. The lights flickered once, then twice. It almost felt like the structure was alive and responding. Back aboard the Solace, Elias tried to record what he had seen. Captain's log. The structure seems artificial, but ancient. It contains knowledge of Earth, and something or someone communicates through symbols and sound. They call themselves Watchers. I don't know if they're still alive, but the more I stay here, the more I feel like the stars themselves are aware. He leaned back in his chair, eyes fixed on the ring outside. From this distance, its lights looked like thousands of glowing eyes. As he watched, one section of the ring began to brighten, forming a line that pointed to a nearby moon. Elias frowned. "You want me to go there, don't you?" he whispered. The stars outside shimmered faintly in response. He sighed and smiled a little. "All right, one step at a time." He powered up the engines again and followed the lighted path out of the docking bay. The ring's surface reflected the dying sun's glow, creating waves of gold and orange that danced across his ship. As the Solace drifted away, Elias looked back at the vast, silent structure. It stood there like a guardian from another age. "Ancient and patient," he said softly. "If the stars are watching, maybe they're waiting for us to understand." Then he turned toward the moon, unaware that his journey was only beginning, and that the answers waiting there would change his view of humanity forever. The moon hung in the distance, small and gray, its surface covered in cracks and deep scars. As the Solace approached, Captain Elias Ward noticed strange metallic patterns across its surface, lines and circles that looked too perfect to be natural. The coordinates from the ring had guided him straight to this place. Whatever force was leading him seemed to know every move he made. The ship entered orbit. As soon as it did, the control screens flickered with static, then cleared. A single message appeared in calm, glowing letters. "Welcome, Captain Ward. Access granted." Elias froze. "You know my name?" he whispered. The computer voice, usually mechanical, spoke softly now, as if another presence had taken control. "Please proceed to the surface. We have been waiting for you." His heartbeat quickened. "We?" No answer came. Elias guided the Solace down through thin layers of atmosphere. Dust clouds rose as the ship landed on a flat platform of shining metal. The moment he stepped outside, he felt a strange energy in the air, soft vibrations under his boots, like the ground itself was alive. In front of him stood a massive door, half buried in moon rock. When he approached, the symbols on its surface began to glow. The lines spread outward, forming the same eye-shaped pattern he had seen before. The door opened with a deep rumble, revealing a dark tunnel descending into the heart of the moon. Elias took a deep breath. "All right," he said to himself. "No turning back now." He walked inside. The tunnel walls shimmered faintly, showing reflections of distant stars even though no windows were there. It felt like walking through space itself. The deeper he went, the stronger the hum became, a steady rhythm that reminded him of a pulse. Finally, he reached a vast chamber lit by gentle white light. At its center stood a large crystal sphere suspended above the floor by beams of energy. Within the sphere floated countless points of light, forming a three-dimensional map of galaxies. Elias stepped closer, awe in his eyes. This is a star chart." The voice returned, smooth, calm, and ancient. "Correct, Captain Ward. You stand within the archive of the Watchers." He turned around. "Who are you?" A figure appeared in front of the sphere, formed entirely of light. It looked human, but slightly taller, its face calm and expressionless. Its eyes glowed like small stars. "I am the custodian," it said. "I was left to guard this place after my creators vanished." Elias stared at it. "Your creators, the Watchers?" The custodian nodded slowly. "They existed long before your kind walked on Earth. They were travelers of stars, seekers of harmony. They observed young worlds and guided their growth." Elias's voice trembled. "Guided, you mean? They helped create us?" The custodian's expression softened. "The Watchers did not create life. They only helped it find its voice. Your world was one of many. The seeds of your intelligence were encouraged to bloom. But your choices, your progress, that belongs to you." Elias took a slow breath, his thoughts spinning. So humanity wasn't alone from the start. Someone was watching over us. Watching, said the custodian, and waiting. The Watchers believed that when a young race learned to look beyond their own sky, they would be ready to join the greater circle. But then the silence came. The silence? The custodian lowered its head slightly. A shadow rose from the dark between galaxies. A great destroyer born of pride and fear. It sought to erase the work of the Watchers and return the stars to emptiness. The Watchers fought, but they could not win. Many were lost. Some hid their knowledge within worlds like this. Elias looked around the glowing chamber. And this place, this moon, it's one of their hiding places. Yes, the custodian replied. Few are left. Most are gone, their lights extinguished. But you, a child of Earth, found your way here. That means your species is ready to know. He shook his head slowly. Ready? We still fight among ourselves. We still destroy our own world. The custodian's eyes shone brighter, yet you still look up. That is what makes you different. Elias felt a wave of emotion. For so long, humanity had wondered if someone out there cared, if the stars were more than empty fire. And now here he was, hearing that they had always been watching, quietly helping life grow. He asked softly, Why now? Why tell me this? The custodian's light flickered, because the silence is breaking. The shadow stirs again. It has already begun to consume distant galaxies. The same force that destroyed the Watchers has awakened. Elias felt cold. You're saying something dangerous is coming back? Yes, and soon it will find your world. A heavy silence filled the chamber. The map of stars within the sphere shifted, showing a great dark wave moving slowly toward a cluster of bright worlds. One of those tiny points glowed blue. Earth. Elias clenched his fists. There must be something we can do. There is hope, said the custodian. The Watchers left a key, an ancient power hidden deep within the stars. But to use it, a living mind must awaken it. Only one born of Earth can begin that process. Elias looked up, realizing what it meant. You mean me? You were chosen not by us, but by the stars themselves. You followed their call. They led you here for a reason. He took a step back, overwhelmed. I'm just a captain. A lost one. I don't understand any of this. The custodian's voice grew softer. Understanding comes with time. Courage comes first. The Watchers believed that even the smallest light can stand against the dark. Elias sat on a nearby platform, staring at the star map. His thoughts drifted back to Earth, to his family, his crew, the cities glowing under the night sky. Were they still alive? Would they ever know what he had found here? He turned to the custodian. If I can activate this key, will it save us? It may protect your world, said the custodian, but it will also draw attention. The shadow will know that one of the young has awakened the light. So if I act, Earth might be in danger. But if I do nothing, we'll all be destroyed anyway. The custodian nodded. Every choice carries weight. The Watchers believed in freedom. The path is yours to walk. Elias closed his eyes for a moment. He could almost hear the stars whispering again, soft, distant, patient. When he opened them, he said, Show me how to find this key. The custodian extended a hand. The star map changed, zooming in on a single bright system at the edge of the galaxy. It pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. This is where it lies, said the custodian. The core of an old Watcher world. But be warned, Captain Ward. Those who seek the light may also awaken the dark. Elias nodded. Then I'll take that risk. The custodian stepped closer. Its light grew stronger, surrounding Elias in warmth. You carry the spirit the Watchers once saw in your kind. Remember, the stars are not your enemies. They remember you. They will guide you if you listen. As Elias returned to the solace, he felt a strange calmness inside him. For the first time since he had woken up alone, he felt like his journey had meaning. When he looked back at the ancient moon, the entrance slowly closed, sealing the secrets once more. He spoke into his recorder. Captain's log. I have spoken with an entity calling itself the Custodian. It claims to serve a race known as the Watchers, beings who guided humanity long ago. It warned me of something approaching, something powerful enough to destroy galaxies. I've been given coordinates to what might be our only hope. He paused, staring out at the stars. They seemed different again, brighter, almost protective. Maybe the universe isn't empty after all, he said softly. Maybe it's been watching, waiting for us to prove we can stand on our own. He sat quietly for a moment, listening to the steady hum of the ship. Then he whispered almost to himself, "All right, stars, I'm listening. Lead the way." Outside the viewport, one by one, the constellations began to rearrange again, forming a faint trail of light pointing toward the edge of the galaxy. Elias smiled faintly. He set the course and whispered, "For Earth." And as the Solace turned toward the unknown, the stars above flickered gently, as if they were watching him go. The stars outside the Solace seemed alive, brighter than ever, guiding Captain Elias Ward toward the edge of the galaxy. Each pulse of light from the distant constellations felt like a heartbeat, steady and patient. Elias adjusted the ship's course, following the trail the custodian had shown him. His mind, however, was heavy with a question that would not leave him. If this key can save Earth, what will it cost? He remembered the custodian's warning. Those who seek the light may also awaken the dark. The thought made his chest tighten. Somewhere beyond the stars, a force waited, older than any human mind could imagine. A darkness that had destroyed entire civilizations. And now, it might be heading toward Earth. For days, Elias navigated through empty sectors, passing stars and asteroid fields no human had charted. He saw worlds of blue and green, golden deserts and seas of silver ice, and always the distant light of the Watcher's influence guided him, a quiet trail that whispered in his mind, "This way. You are ready." The beacon from the moon's structure pulsed in sync with the stars, a steady rhythm almost comforting. Yet the more he followed it, the heavier his heart became. The knowledge that one choice could determine the fate of his world weighed on him. He recorded in his log, Captain's log. Day unknown. The path leads to a world older than Earth, a remnant of the Watchers. If what the custodian says is true, the key may protect Earth, but activating it will call attention to forces beyond comprehension. Am I ready to bear the responsibility? He paused and looked out the viewport. A small blue planet glowed faintly in the distance. His home, his people. His heart ached for them, for their laughter, their struggles, their lives. I have to protect them, he thought. As the Solace neared the target world, the ship's instruments began to behave strangely. Gravity fields fluctuated and strange energy streaks raced across the screens. The stars seemed to bend, forming new shapes, some resembling the dark shadows from the custodian's warning. Elias realized that the approaching danger was no longer abstract. It was real, and it could feel him. The dark force, the shadow, was reacting to his presence, aware that a human had awakened the path. He gritted his teeth. "I won't let it touch Earth," he said firmly. But even as he spoke, another thought haunted him. What if activating the key also exposed humanity to destruction? If the shadow learned of the Watcher's power, it could strike faster than he could ever prepare. Do nothing and humanity dies. Act and they might die anyway. The weight of choice pressed on him like a star collapsing. The coordinates brought him to a small planet orbiting a red dwarf star. Its surface was jagged and gray, but the center glowed faintly with energy. Elias knew this was where the key lay. An ancient Watcher core, the power that could awaken protection across galaxies. He landed carefully, stepping onto the rocky surface. The wind here carried a strange hum, resonating deep in his bones. Every step toward the glowing center made the air thrum more loudly, as if the planet itself was alive. Finally, he arrived at a vast crystal structure, its surface carved with glowing Watcher symbols. The key waited inside, a sphere of light pulsating gently, its energy humming in harmony with the stars. Elias approached it cautiously. When he touched it, a vision flashed in his mind. Cities on Earth shining bright, children laughing, forests waving in the wind. But then, a shadow moving across the galaxy, consuming everything in its path. The choice was clear. Activate the key and Earth might survive, but the shadow would know humanity's location. Do nothing and Earth is destroyed. He stepped back, breathing heavily. The stars above seemed to lean closer, watching him. They are waiting for me to choose, he thought. Elias remembered the custodian's words. Courage comes first. Understanding comes with time. He knew what courage meant. Not fearlessness, but acting despite fear. And now the weight of humanity's survival rested on his shoulders. He spoke softly. Stars, I don't know if I can do this, but I will try. He activated the core. Energy surged through the sphere, cascading outward in beams of silver light that stretched toward the sky. The stars above shifted, forming new patterns, bright, steady lines connecting him to distant constellations. For a moment, everything was still. Then a pulse of energy shot across space, reaching Earth in an invisible wave. Somewhere across the galaxy, sensors on distant worlds lit up. The Watcher's technology was alive once more. The core hummed in resonance with the heartbeat of every planet it had touched. Then the warning came. A shadow of darkness unfolded in the distance, a massive energy wave, twisting and cold, moving faster than any starship. The moment he had feared had arrived. By activating the key, he had drawn the attention of the dark force. Elias gritted his teeth, holding on to the console. "It's coming," he muttered. "I have to protect Earth. Somehow." The stars above blinked, forming faint eye-like constellations, guiding him once more. He realized that the Watchers had not abandoned him. They had left their tools and left hope for someone brave enough to act. The key pulsed in his hands. He focused, imagining a shield around Earth, imagining the force of human courage spreading across the galaxy. The energy responded, forming a network of protective light, invisible to the naked eye but strong enough to reach across vast distances. "If they see the light," he whispered, "they'll know we are awake." The shadow approached faster, a black streak against the stars. Elias could feel the immense power trying to press into his mind, testing his courage. Doubt threatened to overwhelm him, but he gritted his teeth and focused on one thought. Earth. Humanity. Their survival. The pulse of light from the core expanded outward in a protective wave, forming a luminous barrier that wrapped around Earth. It was not perfect, not impenetrable, but it would give humans time to awaken, to fight, to survive. As the energy faded, the shadow paused at the edge of the barrier, sensing the awakening. Then, almost in recognition, it recoiled and retreated into the darkness. Elias exhaled, shaking with relief. He had done it. Earth was safe. For now. But the stars above still shimmered, sending a quiet, steady message. This is only the beginning. He realized that activating the key had not ended the threat. It had marked humanity in the eyes of the universe. The Watchers had left him a choice, and he had chosen life, courage, and hope. But the shadow would not forget. Elias sank to the ground, exhausted, yet a strange joy filled him. For the first time, he felt the weight of being human, the courage to act in the face of the unknown, the stubborn hope to protect what is loved, and the wisdom to carry the consequences of his choice. "I did it," he whispered. "We did it. Earth lives." The stars above blinked in soft patterns, forming lines and shapes that seemed almost like applause. Elias smiled faintly. Perhaps, after all, the universe was not empty. Perhaps it had been watching and waiting for humanity to prove itself. The custodian's voice echoed in his mind one last time. "You have acted with courage, Captain Ward. The stars remember. And perhaps in time, so will all of humanity." Elias looked out at the distant lights of the galaxy, feeling small but significant, a single heartbeat within the vast cosmos. The shadow had been delayed but not destroyed. The journey was far from over. He whispered into his recorder, "Captain's log. The key is activated. Earth is safe for now. The stars are alive. They remember us, and I believe humanity may finally be ready to face the universe." The constellations shifted one final time that night, forming a single shape, an eye watching over the blue planet. Elias leaned back, exhausted but determined. "If the stars see us," he said softly, "then we are not alone. And if we are not alone, maybe we are never truly lost." Outside, the galaxy stretched endlessly, bright and mysterious, as if the universe itself had taken a breath and waited for the next human step. Elias knew one thing for certain. The choice had been made. Courage had prevailed, and humanity had proven itself. Against fear, against the dark, and against the silence of the stars. Captain Elias Ward sat in the cockpit of the Solace, staring at the faint blue glow of Earth in the distance. The stars stretched endlessly in every direction, alive with light and whispers he could almost hear. The key he had activated on the Watcher's world pulsed faintly, humming with energy across the galaxy. Earth was safe. At least for now, but safety was fragile. Elias knew that the shadow, The dark force the custodian had warned him about was still out there beyond human sight, waiting. His choice to activate the key had protected humanity, but it had also revealed its presence to beings older and more powerful than anything humans had ever imagined. He leaned back in his seat, thinking of all he had lost, the crew who had disappeared, the years spent alone, and the silence of the stars. Yet through it all he felt a strange calm. Humanity had survived, and he had acted with courage. That was something the stars would remember. The custodian's voice echoed faintly in his mind, a memory rather than sound. Courage awakens the light, Captain Ward. The stars see all who act with hope. They remember those who stand, Elias whispered. I hope they remember all of us. He reviewed the star maps from the Watcher's archives. One sector in particular caught his attention. A network of hidden star systems connected by faint energy currents, ancient paths left behind by the Watchers. It was as if the galaxy itself had been waiting for someone to follow, someone capable of understanding the rhythm of the stars. An idea formed in his mind. If I cannot stop the shadow entirely, maybe I can leave a message, something for the future, something for humanity, and maybe for the stars themselves. He began preparing a signal. But this was no ordinary communication. The Watcher's technology allowed him to encode more than words. He could send a message in patterns of energy, shaped by light and sound, carrying the rhythm of life itself. Elias connected the ship to the Watcher core, and a sphere of energy enveloped the solace. He concentrated, imagining a heartbeat, the simple, steady rhythm of a human life. Then he expanded it outward, weaving it into a pattern the stars could carry. The energy flowed through the ship, through the galaxy, and beyond. Across planets, across light years, the pattern spread silently, invisible to human eyes but tangible to anyone or anything that could perceive the rhythm of life. He whispered to himself, if anyone is listening, this is us. We are alive. We are human. And we remember. Hours passed as Elias monitored the pattern. The pulse of energy moved like a river, stretching into every corner of the galaxy. He felt a strange connection to it, as if his thoughts and memories were carried along the waves of light. And then, the stars responded. Faint constellations shifted, forming shapes that mirrored the pulse of the signal. Some resembled eyes watching, guiding. Others formed lines and patterns that he could not fully comprehend, but he sensed they were acknowledging his act. The universe, once silent and distant, now seemed aware of him, of humanity. The stars are alive, he murmured. They are remembering us. Elias knew he could not stay here forever. The shadow, though delayed, would eventually sense the signal. It was only a matter of time before it came. He would need to move further, continue the path laid out by the Watchers, and carry the message even deeper into space. He set the Solace on a new course, following faint energy trails left by the Watchers long ago. Each jump through the stars took him further from Earth, but closer to understanding the full story of the galaxy. And yet, even in the vast emptiness, he felt connected. The stars above blinked gently, forming a constellation that reminded him of an eye, a silent witness to his journey. During the journey, he encountered remnants of other Watcher worlds, ruins, stations, and strange artifacts floating in space. Each one carried knowledge, energy, or memory, all preserved in the same rhythm as his heartbeat signal. He realized the Watchers had left a test for all species they influenced. Only those who could act with courage and hope could unlock the secrets hidden across the galaxy. And humanity, through him, had begun that process. Elias recorded a message for Earth. Not words, but his own thoughts encoded into the Watcher signal. If this reaches you one day, know that we are here. The stars are alive. We have faced the darkness and survived. Remember the courage that brought us this far, and never stop looking up. He sent the message outward, letting it drift on currents of light, faster than anything humans had ever imagined. Days turned into weeks as Elias continued to navigate the ancient paths. The stars shifted around him, almost as if guiding his movements. Occasionally he saw flashes in the distance, ships or remnants of civilizations long gone. The galaxy was alive with history, and he felt honored to witness even a fraction of it. At night, when he rested in the cockpit, he would look out at Earth, small but shining, and smile. Humanity was still young, fragile, and imperfect. But it had survived, and the stars had noticed. "We did it," he whispered. "We proved we can stand against the silence." Eventually, he reached a vast nebula filled with silver gas and golden starlight. Here, the stars themselves seemed to bend, forming a network of light trails that stretched for light years. The signal he had sent merged with these trails, carried by the natural currents of energy, expanding outward into unknown space. Elias watched in awe as the nebula responded, shimmering in patterns that looked almost deliberate, an acknowledgement from something greater than himself. He understood then what the custodian had meant. The Watchers had never truly gone. Their tools, their paths, and their guidance were still there, hidden in the stars. Humanity had found its way into that legacy, and the universe had recognized it. But even as hope filled him, he knew the journey was not over. The shadow still lurked, waiting for the right moment to strike. The stars had given humanity a chance, but it would be up to future generations to continue the work, to explore, to protect, and to act with courage when faced with the unknown. Elias tightened his grip on the controls. "I will carry this message as far as I can," he said. "For Earth, for humanity, for the stars that remember us." The solace moved onward, a single human heartbeat traveling across the endless galaxy. Weeks later, as he jumped through another ancient path, Elias saw something that made him pause. Faintly in the distance, constellations formed shapes that looked like faces. Ancient eyes, calm and watchful, staring directly at him. He smiled. "You've been watching all along," he said softly. "And you still are." The realization brought him peace. Humanity had survived. Courage had triumphed. The stars, the Watchers, and even the shadow beyond were all part of a universe that now knew humans existed, and that they could stand among the stars. Elias activated the ship's long-range sensors one last time. Across the galaxy, faint echoes of his signal spread, carrying a single truth. Humans were awake, and they remembered. He recorded a final log entry. Captain's log. Final entry. "Humanity is small, fragile, and yet capable. The stars have seen us, and they remember. If someone finds this, know that we are alive, that we are awake, and that courage will guide us forward. The universe is vast, but we are not lost, and perhaps in the quiet of the stars, someone or something is watching, and hoping for us too." As Elias drifted through the glowing nebula, Earth shining faintly behind him, he felt a strange warmth. The universe was silent yet alive. The stars pulsed gently as if breathing, and somewhere far across time and space, faint eyes in the constellations blinked. The stars had remembered. Elias leaned back, letting the ship drift in the current of light, knowing that humanity's story was only beginning, but that it would be a story worth telling. "We are here," he whispered, "and we are ready." Outside the viewport, the stars shimmered in patterns that no human map could chart. They were alive, watching and remembering every heartbeat that had dared to reach for them. The galaxy was vast. The shadow waited. But humanity had found its voice, and for the first time the stars smiled.